Good evening. This is Peter Colla. As you might have seen me on Nino's Corner TV, I am coming to you live with a report. The name of this report today is called Desperate Times. Shit is getting real. Put on the full armor of God if you can. We are told we are to put on the full armor of God. What could be more useful for the frontline soldiers in the trenches today? If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you probably are not one of them. Desperate times means desperate measures. Don't be caught with your pants down, patriots. I've heard it said mainly by pastors that this process needs to be done daily. And while this for me has been a tendency to facilitate more doubt than faith, especially in the simple healthcare practitioner such as me, because on occasion, more than often than not, the business of day-to-day seems to lead to a practical realization that the majority of the days I venture forth without contemplating, putting on the full armor of God in my consciousness and active mind, and then I'm left wondering by the end of the day, did I actually do it or not? I have this happen to me all the time. But as we examine the actual statement made by Paul, written in the book of Ephesians, we see that the articles of battle, that are actually linked more to the preparedness of one acquires through the ongoing examination of each of the various factors or contemplations, concentration, understanding, rather than the repetitive asking for something over and over again. Again, like a child having to ask permission to pick up a toothbrush and brush their teeth. This is what it seems to be. You're asked constantly. You have to ask for the armor of God. You have to ask for the armor of God. You have to ask for the armor of God. What is clear is the fact that we need the armor of God to stand against the wiles of the enemy. An interesting word, wiles. While it is not commonly used, at least not around here where this guy lives, Arizona is not commonly known for the most liberal linguistic diversity. Unless, of course, you live in Scottsdale, where I've known persons to brag about being bilingual merely because they dated an Italian once or twice in their life. That really happened, by the way. Another story for another time. The word wiles seems to primarily mean being cleverly persuaded, manipulated, or tricked into performing nefarious acts for someone or something else. The very statement prior to the actual putting on of the armor of God, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That is absolutely true. We think we're battling against flesh and blood, even against viruses, against poverty, against politicians, corrupt politicians, crooked cops, crooked crooks. We aren't. We're dealing primarily with principalities and spirits. Now this seems that now this is something that seems to be prevalent importance, especially for my colleagues who believe they are fighting the front lines of the end times war, especially battling in God's army, fighting dark with light for the very souls of people. Well, I don't know about you, but I've strived to spread more godly truths. And since all the truths come from God, I'm not sure if there are any other types, especially in the healthcare industry. It would seem that I am reciprocally hit increasingly frequent counterattacks, censoring, persecutions, especially distracting concerns of false accusations, leading one reinforced certainty to the understanding that there are entities out there that desperately wish truths to be held in check, and definitely not spoken to the people they may help. Yeah, the more you speak truths, the more you fight in the front line, the more you get attacked. And they can't often attack you direct on, so they got to attack you with that little bitty nitpicking, a fee here, a slow payment there, a missed check there, a lost in the mail there. Oh, by the way, your gas card doesn't work. Oh, by the way, today you get a flat tire. Oh, by the way, the dog ran away, and now you got to spend half the day looking for it. One after another. It seems like that you just can't catch a break. And that's because you're spreading truths. And since the attacks seem to come out of nowhere, because they probably do, nowhere being nowhere, no physical where, it only reinforces the understanding of a person being attacked, as well as the many others standing around watching the show. Basically, if you weren't important, you wouldn't be attacked. The truths being spoken must indeed truly be true. Otherwise, why would the dark side even bother? Increasingly enough, the more direct the truth seems to come right out of the mouth of God, more the continued interpretation and subsequent pollution of mankind's repeated translations, the more aggressive and apparent feverish hatred the opposition has in their attempts to curse this information, deflect the discussion, or shut it down altogether. Isn't that true? Isn't it true that the more you talk about it, or the more you talk truths, the more you hit the nail on the head, the more concentrated they are at trying to either distract, discredit, or flat out try to shut you up? Nothing demonstrates this fact more than the mainstream media's aggressive contempt and outright hatred for our illustrious and, this writer's opinion, current elected President Trump. More and more today, we do need to understand our place in this war, our vulnerability, and likewise the instruments that we can otherwise use to protect us. The pieces of armor are simple. Girding our loins with truth. The more truths we obtain, the more secure our loins. Our very productive parts. I mean, that's your private parts, our destiny. And while the shadows and the curses may hide, fade, or vanish, even with a flicker of a single candle, truths once realized and taken into our souls through belief can be a part of us, adding to the intensity of our vibrational existence. I speak of this more extensively in my book, Quantum Ascension, where I kind of analyze the whole quantum realm and how it basically is affected by our truths, our attacks, and health. Breastplate of righteousness. Well, if the soul seeks righteousness in their life, why should they suddenly need to put it on each day? They either have it on or not. But of course, knowing you have something is important to feeling confident in your protection, eliminating any fear an attack might get through the breastplate to actually attack the heart. My point is here, it is often preached that you have to do this daily. Well, if you've got the breastplate of righteousness because you're doing righteous things, it's not like you have to have a need to continually do it every day in order to make sure you got it today so you didn't forget it. Now you're vulnerable. No, you're either protected or not. But like everything else, the weapon is there. You have to pick it up and put it on. And you have to actively know it's there to manifest it, to realize it, to make it real in your eyes. The feet are shod, protected with heavy shoes in the preparation of the gospel of peace. Preparation means preparation ahead of time. That shouldn't be hard to do. The next three seem more important, at least for battle. The shield of faith, which would appear from all depictions to be held in the left hand, also a spiritual therapy discussion to be talked about later. Importantly, the shield is to protect and extinguish the fiery arrows of the evil one. Now, interesting enough, it's fiery arrows and not sword or a spear or something like that. No, they're arrows. They're being shot at you, constantly. So you got the shield to block the arrows so they don't hit you. Fiery arrows, like different words, different accusations, different little attempts, different attempts to make you fearful, different little attempts to make you doubt. Those are the arrows. And the shield you have in your left hand protects you so that you don't even have to just block this. Another arrow, block it off. There it goes. The helmet of salvation, another one which once placed on the head, why would a person need to take it off except maybe to cut their hair? Well, I don't have that issue, so I don't have to even do that. And finally, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, which I've also heard it called the sword of light. I'd like to think of it as a supercharged lightsaber that destroys any demon it merely comes in contact with. This has always been carried in the right hand. Okay, it doesn't matter what part of the body you are fighting from. If you are passing on truths in any fashion, like it or not, you're in the war. And being in the war makes you also a target for the enemy. Now more than ever, with all the heightened alert that the deep stank is in due to the exponential exposure that they are suffering, retaliation, especially in the spirit, is now more prevalent than ever, with increased ferocity against the truthers. That's us. Having the entire armor of God is critical for us to engage, overcome, and be victorious. I had an interesting discussion with my mentor, Peter Law, in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And if any of you ever want to really meet a truly holy man, that's the place to go. It's pretty old, but it's a beautiful, beautiful place, Pagosa Springs. A man who I've come to believe is as much of a modern day prophet as any I've ever lived and heard of. He said to me casually the other day, if you're planning on going into the battle in the spirit, fighting for truths in God's army, or better, you better not be carrying your cell phone in your hand. As a matter of fact, you better turn it off and leave it at home. And I thought to myself, that's kind of strange. So I asked him casually, why is that? And he smiled. He said to me, well, what hand are you going to discard your piece of armor for? The sword or the shield? And he casually went on to do what he was doing before, or saying before. Having the full armor of God is not a question of whether a person has it or needs it, but understanding also the chink in the armor a cell phone or other distractions represent. This only results in weakness the enemy can see in the spirit and then will exploit for his purpose. As we go into the spiritual therapy and spiritual mind, body, and spiritual health care, you're going to find that ourselves are the ones who open up little chinks in our armor. We're the ones who open up little cracks in our houses that allow these enemies to come in. And those cracks are often put there from our doubts, our walking in the wrong place, our saying the wrong thing, or listening to the wrong thing. And it puts these little openings in our home that allows these attacks to get through the shield and get inside and attack us, our bodies. Brothers and sisters, as long as you put on, you're part of the team, part of the body, end times army, fighting in the fight in your corner of the war, regardless if you are a frontline fighter, a speaker of truth to those who are still asleep, like Nino, like 107, Charlie, Ward, Simon Parks, Mel K. The list is a big list. Or a healer bringing healing truths to those who are injured. That could be any one of you that just reach out a helping hand and helps a brother and sister, or tells them a truth. You are, in essence, bringing healing to their bodies, to their spirits. Or two, you could be a transporter, like a pilot or a driver of a med wagon. You can either bring the message to people by sharing it. Just here's the message. Go check out one of Nino's videos. Go check out 107. You need to hear this. That's bringing the message. Or you can bring them to the message. Hey, come here. I want to show you this video I was watching. I think this is really nice. You need to see this. That's bringing them to the message. Or three, if you can't do the one-on-one or the talk to the groups, and bringing the message is just something, it's not your gig. Let's see here. That's my place. And bringing the message is just not your gig, then you can support the team with physical help, prayers, or even financial support, so that you lend a helping hand to your brothers and sisters. See, that's how you become a part. You either are a mouthpiece, or the hands doing the healing, or facilitating the healing, or you are the legs carrying the message to the place, or bringing the message back, or carrying that person back, or you're the back. You're the support system that is helping support it. All are important parts. All are equal parts. No one is more important than the other. All needed in the mission given us in this little corner of the war. For every person who wakes, they are also healed. And when they are a part of the healing body responsible for one more person seeing the light, we in essence all are having and assistance in the saving of that life. I myself, as a healthcare practitioner, have had the honor of having individuals tell me I saved a life. Recently, more than early in my career, nothing as sweet as the sound of those words. I'm going to give you a real quick story before I close this up. I did have the honor of my first life I'd ever saved. Here I was, a young child, a young kid, maybe I was only 10, 11 years old. I used to love to swim. In Arizona, we had a lot of chances to swim, and we had one of those. And didn't have a lot of money, but we happened to have a swimming pool in our backyard. And so I was in that thing all the time, swimming all the time, And finally, one day, my parents come home, and they had some friends over to visit. And they come in the backyard, and they're talking, and we're going to go inside and eat in a little while. And I come out of the pool, and I'm talking. They introduced me to this family, the Precies, of Joe and Joe Precy. They're friends of my mother's. And they turn to go into the room, into the house, and I'm starting to follow them. And something tells me in the back of my head I should turn and look. And their little 2-year-old child, maybe even a year and a half, got separated from them and was over on the other side of the pool. And she just fell in just as they were turning to go in the house. And I was going with them. I ran through the gate, jumped in the pool and under the water, and came up and pushed the child with one hand, literally up out of the water. That's how little she was. And pushed her literally up and out, coughing and crying. And there, of course, the parents are running over there, and they're taking the child out of the water and lifting her out of the pool. Okay, I didn't think anything of it. That was fine. I got dressed and dried off and went in the house. And then 10 years later, maybe 9 years later, I've come home from college with my new wife. And my mother and dad say, "Hey, we're going to go over to these friends' house. Why don't you come with us? I would like to. They want to see you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And so we go with them, and we come into the house, and these people come down, and they come over and introduce, "Hey, this nice to see you again. It's been so long, and we want to meet you. We want somebody that wants to talk to you." And I look, and upstairs comes down this girl, one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen. Long, dark hair. She comes down the stairs, comes across the room, and comes up and kisses me and says, "You saved my life." And they said, "That was the little girl that you saved all those years ago." I'll tell you what, that was for me one of the finest moments in my life. And I have had since a number of occasions, more lately than before, where I've had patients come to me and say, "You didn't just help me, you saved my life." I'll tell you what, that's gold. There is nothing better than the sound of that. When you've helped somebody, when you've given them a truth and it's changed their life for the better. Be a part of that, my brothers and sisters. Be a part of that team. Come join us. I invite anyone who's read these words and perhaps has seen me, Peter Colla, speaking with my dear friend David Rodriguez regarding spiritual healing. I invite any of you to come and join me as we further develop how every one of us, everyone, you and me, and the rest of them, can become a spiritual healer. If this interests you, perhaps a different part of the body is more to your talents and skills, please contact us as well, because we are building a spiritual healing body, a partnership of people who are interested in not only the symptom reduction, but truths as spoken in the Word of God, applying them to others and becoming a healer, a truth sharer in the army of God. Welcome to the team. Peter Colla. I wrote that and we'll post this video version of it. I also added at the end a prayer. I'd like to pray this prayer with anybody who got this far. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all your wisdom, guidance, and protection as we fight the fight, each of us in our own capacity. Empower us with the will to step into your fray. Equip us with the full armor of God, and help us clearly see anything we can hold in our hands that might distract us from what you would put there for your own good. If you like this video, if you like what we're trying to teach with our mind, body, spirit, you could really help us by supporting our channel, going to Peter and Anna Colla, and that's the paulorpeter. It's listed here on this video. and maybe you become a subscriber. That would really be nice. There's no cost for that. And if you really want, you can check out our books. We have a couple of books I've written: Heal Yourself for God's Sake and Quantum Ascension, both available on Amazon. The links are below of this writing on paulorpeter. You can see all my writings. I've written hundreds of articles on paulorpeter. I've also posted chapters of the various books, and then a lot of other things. And that's also a place where, if you need to get a hold of us, you maybe want some private therapy sessions where we talk about your specific issues as medical issues, and I would talk to you directly as a registered licensed physical therapist, but also mind, body, and spiritual practitioner. I can talk to you about it and give you some real insight to how you can help yourself. You can call me and we can set up an appointment for that directly. We can also do a direct. We can also do a group situation. If you wanted to get a bunch of people together, and I give like a little mini seminar, we could do that. Or even I've done it in churches and come and speak to the church groups, or even like I said, seminars where people are having public speaking arrangements, and they want me to come and speak at that as well. I can do all of that. Just let me know. You can call me. You want to organize that. You can organize it in a small group or large group. And other than that, you can also find us on GoFundMe. And you can, the link is also below. Bless you and take care. Until the next time.